Good day everyone, my name is Kenn at Franzalida. Today we're going to study about the teaching assessment of the Macroskills. For the instruction, please read each of the following multiple choice questions carefully and select the single best answer from the 4 options provided for each. These assessments aims to evaluate your understanding of the teaching and assessment principle of related to language, macro skills such as listening, speaking, reading, writing, reviewing, and representing. Take your time to consider each question thoroughly before making your selection, and upon completion, you may refer to the answer key to review your responses. For question number 1, which is the following best defined areas of the macro skills? A. Skills that involves producing a language, for example, speaking and writing. Letter B, a skill that involves understanding or interpreting language, for example, listening and reading. Letter C, a skill that focuses on grammatical accuracy alone. And lastly, letter D, a skill that requires interaction with others. I give you 5 seconds to think what is your answer. Time's up. The right answer is letter B. Receptive macro skills are those where the language learner receives and comprehends information. This means they are taking in language from an external sources and processing its meaning. Listening involves understanding spoken language, and reading involves understanding written language. For letter A, this option defines productive macro skills, not receptive ones. However, letter C, while grammatical accuracy is an important component of language skills, it doesn't define receptive skills. And letter D, the interaction itself is not defining a characteristic of receptive skill. Question number 2. When assessing writing, which aspect is primarily concerned with the logical flow of ideas and the use of cohesive devices? A. Grammar and mechanics. B. Vocabulary range. C. Organization and coherence. And lastly, letter D. Punctuation and spelling. Okay, I give you again 5 seconds to think what is your answer. The correct answer is letter C, organization and coherence. Organization refers to the logical structuring of written piece, while coherence pertains to how smoothly ideas connect and flow together. For letter A, this aspect focuses on the rules of language structure and conventional writing marks rather than logical connection of ideas. However, in letter B, while important for expression, vocabulary range pertains to the breadth of words used, not how those words ideas are logically linked. But however, in letter D, these elements fall under mechanics and affect clarity at macro level, but they do not directly govern the overall logical flow and connectedness of ideas in a text. Question number 3. A teacher asks students to skim a news article to find the main topic. This activity specifically targets which reading sub-skill? Letter A, intensive reading. Letter B, reading for detail. Letter C, reading for guess or like main idea. Letter D, reading aloud. I give you again 5 seconds to think what is your answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter C, reading for guess or the main idea. Skimming is a rapid reading technique used to quickly grasp the overall sense of main idea of a text without focusing on every detail. Its primary purpose is to get the general understanding of the gist of the content. Question number 4. Which assessment method would be the most appropriate for evaluating a student's ability to participate effectively in a spontaneous group discussion? Letter A, written essay. Letter B, a listening comprehension test. Letter C, an oral presentation. And lastly, letter D, a rubric-based observation of a group discussion. I give you again 5 seconds to think what is your answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter D, a rubric-based observation of a group discussion. As the participation in a spontaneous group discussion, you need to observe students as they discuss. A rubric provides a clear criteria for evaluating their interactive speaking skills, such as turn taking, or turn-taking, contributing ideas, and responding appropriately within that specific text. Question number 5. The principle of authenticity in language teaching suggests using materials and tasks that are letter A, simplified for beginning learners, letters B, created specifically for textbook exercises, letter C, reflective of real-world language use, and lastly, letter D, focus on exclusively on grammar drills. I give you again 5 seconds to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter C, reflective of real-world language use. The principle of authenticity advocates for bringing real-life language into the classroom. This means using materials like genuine news articles, video or conversations, and tasks that mirror how language is used naturally outside the classroom. Question number 6. Which of the following is considered a productive macro skills? A. Listening, B. Reading, C. Speaking, and letter D. Viewing. Okay, I'll give you 5 seconds to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter C. Speaking. Productive macro skills involve producing language, meaning the learner is actively generating spoken or written output. Speaking is a productive skill because it requires the learner to formulate and articulate thoughts verbally. However, letter A, listening, is a receptive skill because it involves understanding incoming spoken language, not producing it. Letter B, reading, is a receptive skill because it involves understanding written language, not producing it. And letter D, viewing, is a receptive skill because it involves understanding visual media, not creating it. Question number 7. In assessing listening, an activity where students complete a partial transcript on an audio recording by filling in missing words, such as closed test, primarily targets letter A, global comprehension, letter B, intensive listening for specific details, letter C, referring meaning, and letter D, listening for pleasure. I give you 5 seconds to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter B, intensive listening for specific details. A closed test in listening requires students to accurately catch individual words or phrases that are missing from a transcript. This process demands very focused attention to detail in audio, making it an exercise in intensive listening rather than general comprehension. Question number 8. Which of the following assessment tools provide systematic criteria or evaluating students' performance on complex tasks like essays or oral presentations? Letter A, simple checklist. Letter B, a true-false quiz. Letter C, a rubric. And letter D, a dictation exercise. I give you 5 minutes to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter C, a rubric. A rubric is a detailed scoring guide that outlines specific criteria and different levels of performance for a task. This systematic approach allows for consistent and fair evaluation of complex skills like writing essays or delivering oral presentation, providing clear benchmarks for assessment. Letter A, a simple checklist, while helpful for tracking completion of simple checklists, typically indicates presence of absence of feature, not the quality of level of performance. However, letter B, a true or false quizzes format that assesses factual knowledge or comprehension, is unsuitable for evaluating the nuanced performance of complex productive tasks like essays or presentation. And letter D, a diction exercise. Dictation primarily assesses listening comprehension and spelling, not the ability to organize ideas, construct arguments, or deliver oral presentations. Question number 9. When teaching and assessing reading, encouraging students to use free viewing strategies, for example, looking at headings, pictures is an example of fostering. Letter A, decoding skills. Letter B, metacognitive strategies. Letter C, pronunciation accuracy. And lastly, letter D, vocabulary memorization. I give you 5 seconds to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter B, metacognitive strategies. Metacognitive strategy is about thinking. In this context, it is about students actively managing their own reading process. Reviewing helps readers activate prior knowledge and set as a purpose for reading, which are key self-monitoring techniques. Question number 10. What is a key challenge often encountered when assessing speaking in a large language classroom? Letter A, a difficulty in finding suitable reading materials. Letter B, the subjective nature of evaluation and time-consuming individual assessment. Letter C, lack of grammar rules to assess. Letter D, students' inability to write responses quickly enough. I give you 5 seconds to think what is the best answer. Time's up. The correct answer is letter B, the subjective nature of evaluation and time-consuming individual assessment. Assessing speaking is inherently challenging because it often relies on subjective judgment of various nuanced elements like fluency, pronunciation, and communicative effectiveness. Furthermore, evaluating each student's individual spoken performance thoroughly, especially in large class, requires a significant amount of time and effort from the assessor. Now you just completed comprehensive review of the teaching assessment of Macroskills. Now add up your points to see how well you have grasped this fundamental concept in language education. Keep up the great effort in your studies. Good luck!